Help, 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 someone, anyone. I was lying on the ground, beaten, bloody, and helpless. This is a story that I didn't want to share, but I share it with you so you may know that there is evil out there. May you always keep your guard up, as I once did not. It was December 20th, 2016, when my wife and I moved into our new apartment. We were told we were not allowed to have any pets in our apartment, but we had our 2-year-old Pitbull named Peanut that was part of our family, so we snuck him in our apartment and we planned on keeping him a secret. Within the first 2 weeks, my neighbor notified our apartment manager that we had our dog living in our apartment. The manager contacted us and said if we didn't get rid of our dog, we would be evicted. So my wife Sandy told me, Adam, I know we are in a tough situation and we both love Peanut, but if you don't give him up, the manager will evict us and then we won't have a place to stay. So I think it's best that we give him up. I really didn't want to lose Peanut, but since the manager was threatening to evict us, I had no choice but to put up an ad on Craigslist and find Peanut a new home. I was gonna make sure I found a good home for Peanut, and maybe if I got lucky, they would allow me to come see him from time to time. A few days later, a man emailed me. He wrote in his email, "Hello. My name is CJ. I would love to adopt your dog. I live in a 5-bedroom house with a 3-acre backyard. My wife and I both used to have a pit bull named Chocolate, but he passed away 2 years ago, and we would love to devote our love and care to your dog, Peanut. Sincerely, CJ Armstrong." I replied back to his email and said, "Hey CJ, you sound like a good guy. That will be a great father to Peanut. He loves to run around, and with a 3-acre backyard, he's going to be a really happy dog. Can we schedule a time so we can meet at your house tomorrow?" CJ replied back saying, "My home currently is infested with bugs, and we're staying at a Motel 6 for the next couple days. Let's just schedule a time to meet up at the park tomorrow." That made me feel a little uneasy because I want to make sure I knew where Peanut was going to live, and why would CJ be rushing to get a dog when he's staying at a Motel 6? That seemed extremely strange. We emailed with each other a few more times, and after several emails, we decided to meet up at the park the next day. That night, I told Peanut that I was truly sorry that I wasn't going to be able to keep him. I fed Peanut a 5-pound sirloin steak as a treat just in case if it was going to be our last goodbye. And I gave him a hug and told him, "Don't worry, you're going to have a good family with a big house and a bigger backyard. And if CJ lets, I'll make sure to come visit you as much as I can." Peanut jumped on me and licked me all over my face. The next day I showed up at the park at 2 o'clock in the afternoon with Peanut as scheduled to meet up with CJ. CJ arrived in a really nice looking black 2015 convertible Audi R8, $160,000 sports car. When CJ stepped out of his car, an ominous cloud seemed to just hover above him. He had a gloomy look that made me feel fearful. He was wearing a white 70s suit that brought flashbacks of the movie Scarface to my memory. As he walked towards Peanut and I, he waved and said, "Yo, what's up, Adam?" "Hey CJ, that's a nice car you got there." "Yes, it goes 0 to 60 in 2.9 seconds. Catch me if you can," he said nonchalantly as he shrugged his shoulders in an unusual way. He seemed to have a mysterious demeanor that seemed quite sinister towards me. As we stood face to face, I was looking into his eyes and I could see he had cruel intentions, almost like a bloodthirsty dictator. So I asked, "So, CJ, is Peanut going to be your only dog?" "No. We also have a German Shepherd. When he said that, I was suspicious of his motives because I clearly remember when he emailed me, he said he had a dog named Chocolate that passed away 2 years ago. He never mentioned that he had another dog, which would be great for Peanut because Peanut would love to have a friend. So I asked him, "Who's we? You said you were married, correct? Is your German Shepherd a boy or a girl? Why are you interrogating me?" He said in a sort of antagonistic way. I was flustered and I didn't know what to say. I just looked blankly at him and said, I stuttered uncontrollably. CJ made me feel super uncomfortable when he said I was interrogating him, and he seemed to get extremely agitated when I started asking him questions. I was able to compose myself. I cleared my throat and said, I was curious of the living situation for my dog. I only want the best for him. I want Peanut surrounded with people that can give him unconditional love. Can you do that for my dog? CJ didn't answer me back. He just looked me down, almost like an axe murderer would have. I was feeling extremely perturbed, especially because I recognized this hostile emotion that creeped me out. I can tell just by staring into CJ's eyes that he was a ruthless man. And then out of nowhere, CJ grabbed my hand and said, "I'm doing you a favor, Adam." He had an eerie tone in his voice that made my hair on the back of my neck stick up. When he said that, it gave me the chills. I whispered back, "I don't need any favors, CJ." With his eyes glaring into my soul, he said, "Your dog needs a home, and I'm giving him a home." He said extremely sadistically. At this point, I knew CJ was bad news, inside and out, and I wanted nothing to do with him. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, CJ ripped the leash out of my hand and said, "Come on, Peanut, we're going home." I replied back, "Oh no, you're not. Please hand me back my leash." I tried grabbing the leash from CJ, but he just started walking away from me nonchalantly as he yanked on Peanut's leash. Suddenly, 2 huge white bodybuilder men popped out of nowhere and held me back as CJ walked Peanut to his 2015 Audi R8 convertible and drove off with my dog. I was furious that CJ just stole my dog from me. Peanut didn't resist because he's a playful and happy dog, especially with humans. After CJ drove off, I felt demoralized standing there with these 2 big burly men holding me back. When they noticed that CJ was gone, they let me go. I ran towards the parking lot where CJ had his car parked, but he was long gone. When I looked back, the 2 burly men vanished. I didn't see them anywhere in the park. I seriously felt like I was in some kind of Twilight Zone, or maybe a dream, but I wasn't dreaming. I fell on my knees and started crying. I didn't know what to do. CJ just took my dog without my consent. I was thinking maybe CJ was a big-time drug dealer that needs a guard dog to watch his house or something. But I was sure this guy was more sinister than that. I quickly hopped in my car and pulled out my laptop. I'm a former computer engineer from MIT. I spent 3 years in prison for hacking into people's bank accounts and credit cards. I stole over 4.7 million back in my prime, but after getting caught, all my cars and homes were seized by the federal government. When released from prison, I became a law-abiding citizen and got a job as a 12th grade math teacher. Yes, it's been a long and hard road for me, and I truly admit that I made several mistakes in my past. But if this CJ guy thinks he could take my dog from me and just nonchalantly walk away, he better guess again. With my laptop up and running, I opened up NetHacker, which is a browser similar to Google Chrome, Firefox, Internet Explorer, and Safari. The only difference is it's a browser that only federal officials have control over, or shall I say, hackers like my former self. I'm not a thief anymore, and I'm not looking to steal any credit cards, bank accounts, or social security numbers. All I want to know is who owns that 2015 convertible Audi R8. I wasn't able to get CJ's license plate, which would have been ideal. While I was searching the deep web with NetHacker, 35 2015 black Audi R8 convertibles emerged onto my screen that were located in Southern California. There was a match: Christian Jr. Armstrong, age 33, height 6'1", address 555 Desert Mayo Drive, Santa Clarita, California. It even had a spot-on picture of CJ. His address was located in the mountainous regions, not too far from where I was at. I was hauling ass in my 2007 Honda Accord. It was definitely no Audi R8, but with the pedal to the metal, it was getting the job done. It took me about 30 minutes to get to CJ's address, but the problem was, when I got there, I only saw a mailbox. It was a very remote and rural area. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, a car pulled up behind me. The driver gestured with his hand for me to roll down my window, so I did. And then he said, "Are you here for the fight?" With a smile etched on his face, he gave me a sleazy wink. I replied back, "Yeah, can you show me where to go?" He nodded his head and gave me a thumbs up. He was driving a 1993 Ford Bronco. As he pulled forward, I followed him down a dirt road that seemed to last forever. And then we got to a double chain link gate that had a security guard standing by. The man in the front driving the Ford Bronco said that I was with him, so the security guard waved me through. As I entered the property, I noticed a lot of trees. As I drove up a very narrow dirt road, I continued driving up the dirt road for a little over a quarter of a mile, and then I reached a large-sized wooden cabin. The house looked mysterious. I was getting a bad vibe from the home, and then I looked to my right and saw a fleet of cars parked on the hillside. This property was huge. It must have been at least 30 acres. When I got out of my car, there was an eerie green glow in the sky. The guy from the Bronco walked up to me and then wrapped his arm around my neck and asked, "How much are you betting today?" "Excuse me?" I raised my eyebrows in shock when I heard him say betting. "Didn't we do business with each other last week?" He squinted his eyes at me as if he was examining my facial features. "You're Rob, right?" he asked me. I nodded my head as we walked towards the house. About 30 yards ahead of us, there was a tall, well-built man walking a black Pitbull that looked massive, as if she were on steroids. The guy then patted me on the back and said, "I'll see you later. I'm gonna talk to Black Demon's owner. Oh, and just for heads up, I'm putting 10,000 down on Black Demon. I heard he's going up against the Blue Nose." He then ran towards the man and the dog, which is named Black Demon, and started chit-chatting with the owner. Shit, I cursed underneath my breath. I was in a dogfighting brawl. I was looking around. I was trying to scope out the Audi R8. There were at least 50 cars parked in here, but I didn't see an Audi R8. I started walking towards the rustic-looking cabin. There were a couple men standing outside on the porch. I gave them a nod and said, "I'm here for the fight." One of the guys looked at me and said, "Hey pal, I don't know if you remember or not, but it's $1,000 entry fee." I nodded my head and said, "I'm CJ's special guest." They nodded back and allowed me to go inside the cabin. As I stepped inside the woodsy cabin, there were at least 80 to 100 men. There was a high stench of weed and alcohol. One guy even passed me a joint and said, "Take a hit." I wanted to look like I fit in, so I grabbed the joint and made it look like I was taking a hit. My main concern was trying to find my dog Peanut, which I knew for a fact he was going to be here. I heard dogs barking in the background. That was terrifying for me. But if this CJ guy thinks he could just take my dog from me and throw him in a dogfight, he better guess again. Then I heard the announcer speak.
"Are you guys ready? Get your bets in, the show is about to start."
The same guy I saw walking outside just walked in with Black Demon. The dog looked like a ferocious carnivore that could tear anything into pieces. And then I heard the announcer speak again.
Up against Black Demon, we have a new contender named Psychopath.
My jaw dropped. I couldn't believe it. CJ walked into the main room with Peanut. These were despicable men that were bloodthirsty and inhumane. They just wanted Peanut to get mauled to death by the other Pitbull. I couldn't just stand and watch. I had to do something. CJ and the other guy both had the dogs on leashes, and Black Demon was barking thunderously while my dog Peanut had his tail between his legs. I was standing in the crowd making my way up towards the front. I couldn't let CJ's diabolical plan continue with this dogfight when I heard the announcer say,
"It's time to rumble!"
I jumped in the middle of the ring and screamed, "FBI! I have a search warrant! Everyone's getting arrested!" The man let Black Demon off the leash, and the massive Pitbull leaped onto me and started viciously biting my leg. I screamed, "Back up! Back up! I need backup!" Even though there was no backup coming my way, everyone bought it and started fleeing out of the cabin. Even CJ started running. When CJ started running, he let go of Peanut's leash, and he came running to my aid. He jumped on Black Demon to defend me. Black Demon stopped biting me and then started attacking Peanut. I screamed, "Peanut!" But he was no match for this dog that had been trained to fight like a barbaric animal. Black Demon bit Peanut in the neck and started mauling my dog to death. I then intervened. I grabbed Black Demon and held her tightly as she tried biting and twisting out of my arms. I was able to pin my body on top of the dog with my arms wrapped around her neck and my face pressed against her head. I whispered, "You're not Black Demon. You're Black Beauty. You're not Black Demon. You're Black Beauty." I continued to whisper with soothing, gentle whispers. As the beautiful Black Pitbull calmly submitted, I carefully got her on the leash and tied her to one of the pillars in the cabin. When I went to Peanut's aid, it was too late. I picked him up in my arms as he took his last breath and passed away. I cried for help. "Help! Help! 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 Someone! Anyone!" Everyone says everything happens for a reason. Well, one thing for sure is going to happen. I'm gonna find you, CJ, and when I find you, I'm not going to turn you into the police. I'm going to burn you alive. And rest assured, CJ, I will be your worst nightmare.